I remember there was actually a sexual thrill. You hear that little pop and pull their heads off and hold their heads up by the hair, whipping their heads off, their body sitting there. That would get me off. Edmund Kemper, talking about playing with his sister's dolls when he was a little boy. Edmund Kemper is one of America's most infamous serial killers, known as the co-ed killer because of his predilection for pretty young college girls. He preyed upon hitchhikers in Northern California in the early 1970s, killing them and then taking their dead bodies home, where he would mutilate and have sex with them. His first victims were his paternal grandparents, whom he killed when he was 15. And his last were his mother and her best friend. At 6 feet 9 inches tall and weighing well over 250 pounds, the bespectacled killer's imposing size belies a keen intelligence and disarmingly affable personal manner. He possesses a genius-level IQ, which was discovered when he was institutionalized as a teenager following his grandparents' murder. Since being sentenced to life in prison, Kemper has openly discussed his crimes, and his ability to psychoanalyze himself has made him a favorite interview subject of both law enforcement and psychiatric experts. Here is a skin-crawling interview of Edmund Kemper where he may seem normal, but according to his half-brother David Weber, it's all a ruse. He is a complete sociopath. He could look you straight in the eye telling you how sorry he is for everything he did while at the same time plotting your demise, and you would never even have a clue.
Well, I'm not an expert. I'm not an authority. I'm someone who has been a murderer for almost 20 years. One victim let me back in the car. I locked myself out. She opened the door for me. My gun was under the seat. What in the hell am I doing telling you that? Am I a masochist? Am I looking to be tormented further? I'm trying to show you just how awful this got, how commanding these rages got. I was raging inside. There was just incredible energies, positive and negative, depending on a mood. That would trigger one or the other. And outside, I looked troubled at times. Other times I looked moody. Other times perfectly serene. Not very sane. But again, people weren't even aware of what was happening. I was also involved in killing co-eds because my mother was associated with college work, college co-eds, women, and had a very strong and violently outspoken position on men for much of my upbringing. My mother was a sick, angry, hungry, and very sad woman. I hated her, but I wanted to love my mother. And I watched the alcohol increase. I watched her social life drop off. I watched her get bizarre. She had terrible pain from her life, earlier life, her upbringing, a failed marriage with my father. I'm a constant reminder of that failure. I hate to distill it down into such into one-word realities like that. There's a lot that leads into that happening, but that is what happened. They represented not what my mother was, but what she liked, what she coveted, what was important to her, and I was destroying it.
Why did you actually kill the girls?
My frustration, my inability to communicate socially, sexually. I wasn't impotent, but emotionally I was impotent. I was scared to death of failing in male-female relationships. I knew absolutely nothing about that whole area, even if just sitting down and talking with a young lady. I need to be able to really communicate, and ironically enough, that's why I began picking people up. I was picking up some very lovely young women. You know what we were talking about as we're driving around, almost as often as not? This guy that's going around doing this stuff. And the second they started talking that, they didn't realize it, but they were getting a free ride. I couldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, I swear. But they'd be telling me all about this guy, and they're comparing notes and speculating on what he looks like, how he carries himself, why he's doing this stuff, telling me about it. It was getting easier to do. I was getting better at it. I was getting less detectable. I started flaunting that invisibility, severing a human head, 2 of them, at night in front of my mother's residence. They'd buy me a beer, I'd buy them a beer. Casual relationships, but I was poking around a little bit trying to find some things out. I knew they wouldn't be privy to hot information, but there were some things that were bothering me, like were there any speculations on how they were dying,